Welcome everybody to What's the 411? This is the place that brings you news, observation, interpretation, and news commentary. Let's get it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to What's the 411 News. And you've heard it being covered. We're going to cover it here as well, New Black Media. And let's get into it, man. Biden is wooing the African nations with $55 billion in a fake apology. A fake apology. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we all know and understand there's something more sinister going on here, if you will. And so with that being said, we're going to take a look into this thing right here, all right? Let's take a look. So, yeah, my nation's original sin, Biden apologizes for slavery and offers Africa $55 billion investment. Now, does that mean all of Africa or certain nations they feel they can probably get over on, or they feel that they can finesse on, give them a little money, but take a lot of resources and make more money than the money they're giving out, right? And another thing to look at, this is from another perspective. Here they go again, giving money to someone else, to other groups, and nothing for the foundational Black Americans. Notice that. Notice all the money they've been giving out, but he ain't taking care of the Blacks at home, who are the descendants of American slaves. Notice that, right? So, my nation's original sin, Biden apologizes to delegation of African leaders for the unimaginable cruelty of slavery and offers them $55 billion as Rwandan president mocks U.S. in front of laughing crowd. So Joe Biden on Wednesday hosted most of Africa's leaders in Washington for the first time. I believe that's Wednesday of last week since 2014, reviving a summit by Barack Obama, right? Biden said his country and Africa were united by, he said that his country, being the U.S., and Africa were united by America's original sin and the stolen men and women and children brought to our shores in chains. Now he's talking about the descendants of American slaves, but he ain't giving the descendants of American slaves money. He's just going over Africa saying, hey, yeah, we did this, and we're going to come over here and give y'all money. We ain't giving the ones that were stolen, the stolen men and women and children who are the descendants of those who were stolen. I'm not going to give it to them, but we're going to give it to y'all and apologize to y'all. Rattled by China's massive investment in Africa, Biden on Wednesday announced $55 billion to be spent on health, climate change, and trade. Okay. Paul Kagame, Rwanda's president, was asked before Biden's speech whether anything has come from the 2014 summit and said they had achieved little. All right. So, yeah, Joe Biden apologizes, blah, 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 right? Speaking during a gathering of almost all African leaders in Washington, D.C., the first since Barack Obama convened the summit in 2014, Biden expressed regret for the past, but insisted the United States is all in on Africa's future. They're all in on it. Yeah, they're all in, all right. They're really all in, huh? During a White House dinner honoring African leaders and their spouses, Biden addressed what he called America's original sin, the enslavement of millions of people, and honored their descendants and the broader African diaspora community in the United States. Notice those choice of words, the broader. So almost saying like you're not zeroing in on the actual descendants of the American slaves that are living today, not really narrowing down and honing on them. You're just kind of broadening the scope. You're playing word games and word trickery by saying the enslavement of millions of people and honored their descendants. All right. Well, if you honor their descendants, Biden, I'm one of those descendants of the American slaves. I didn't get the memo, homie. I didn't get the memo. So where did that take place? Because I missed that memo, where to show up at and how you was going to give out these reparations. I don't understand that one. Our people lie at the heart of the deep and profound connection that forever binds Africa and the United States together, he said. We remember the stolen men, yeah, right. We remember the stolen men and women and children were brought to our shores in chains, subjected to unimaginable cruelty. Yeah, so unimaginable. I can't say it. I'm so pissed off. Unimaginable cruelty. You can't even fathom that. But I'm sure you know what went down in regards to that, right? So here he is with dozens of African leaders gathered in D.C. The United States is all in on Africa, according to his little speech there, right? And there's old Jill, the Jack and Jill Society, right? No biggie there. There goes old Gladys. They done got them one to sing. It's kind of interesting. They had, I don't know. They put Gladys Knight there. Interesting. I wish Gladys Knight was up on some things and might have refused if she knew what was really going on. So I'm wondering how much she knows what's been going down. Seems like they use people. They find the ones that they can just kind of put in place and use, or they find that they might be down on their luck or whatever the situation might be. Because I wonder if Gladys Knight knew or understood what's going on in America in regards to reparations, in regards to FBA, in regards to the descendants of American slaves, and the fact that Biden's been putting out money to everybody else around the globe, here on U.S. soil and around the globe, but not to foundational Black Americans. I wonder if she would have went on and did her little singing. I wonder, right? So Biden and his wife, Jill, applauded enthusiastically after Knight's performance. Singer Gladys Knight later serenaded Biden and the visiting leaders with a performance in the White House state dining room. The White House announced that $55 billion was being directed to Africa in the areas of health, climate change, trade, and women's initiatives. But the money was met with scorn by some. Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, was asked earlier Wednesday, or that's probably last week, whether the 2014 summit yielded concrete results. Well, at least this is what he was saying. Well, at least we had a good meeting, he replied, to laughter from those assembled. Biden's outreach attempt was seen by many as a way of limiting the power of China, which has invested more in Africa than any other nation. Imagine that. Why is China doing that? I think you could kind of figure things out at this point. Why China has invested more than any other nation. Beijing has held its own high-level meetings with African leaders every 3 years for over 2 decades. All right, there goes Paul Kagame. Was it him or the Ethiopian president that had some little slick thing to say not too long ago about Black Americans? Or was it both of them? I don't know. I forget which one. Chinese trade with Africa is about 4 times that of the United States, and Beijing has become an important creditor by offering cheaper loans, often with the opaque terms and collateral requirements than Western lenders. But despite Biden's overtures, many African leaders rejected the idea that they need to choose between the United States and China. The fact that both countries have different levels of relations with African countries makes them equally important for Africa's development, said Tai Selassie, Ethiopia's UN ambassador. However, it should be known each African country has the agency to determine respective relationships and best friend interest, right? And Kagame is seen with Barack Obama here in 2015 in this picture here at a peacemaking summit at the United Nations, I should say. After his remarks at the summit, Biden viewed some of the World Cup semifinal match between Morocco, the first African nation to reach the semifinals, and France, with Morocco's Prime Minister Aziz Akhnouch. I'll pronounce it like that. France won the match 2-0. Before dinner, Biden met leaders Gabon, Liberia, and others facing 2023 elections for discussion on elections and democratic principles. All right. Africa's economic transition depends on good government, healthy populations, and reliable and affordable energy, he told the summit. These things business seeks out when they're looking to invest. All right. So let's take a look at that again. Okay. Africa's economic transition depends on good government, healthy populations, and reliable and affordable energy. These things business seeks out when they're looking to invest. They attract new opportunities and they launch new partnerships. And the United States is committed to supporting every aspect of Africa's inclusive growth and creating the best possible environment for sustained commercial engagement between African companies and American companies. All right. Let's see here. Thursday is to be dedicated to high-level discussions among leaders. Biden will open the day with a session on partnering with the African Union's strategic vision for the continent. Jill Biden hosted a program for spouses Wednesday morning at the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts, where she told the crowd, "My hope is that the way we make each other feel will last beyond the summit." Yeah, okay, Jill. The summit is the largest international gathering in Washington since before the start of the pandemic. All right, and there go some more pictures there for those who might be interested. The White House rolled out the red carpet for Africa's leaders 6 years after the last such summit. Okay. Biden is seen speaking to the assembled African leaders as Senegal's president listens in. That's it right here. All right. And here's Biden's tweet. "It was a great honor to watch today's World Cup match alongside Prime Minister of Morocco. No matter who you're rooting for, it was remarkable to watch how much this team has been able to achieve." Yeah, okay. Okay, Biden. Roads all around the city center were blocked off and motorcades zoomed by the gridlock traffic elsewhere, ferrying some of the 49 invited heads of state and other leaders. Zimbabwe, which has faced years of U.S. and Western sanctions, so on and so on and so forth. Basically, it's gonna boil down to the Biden administration, U.S. government trying to gain control of the resources, trying to put their fangs into controlling these countries that they're getting ready to hand this money off to. We read this last one here. Anthony Blinken, I think that is seen speaking at a dinner for African foreign ministers on Wednesday. Biden has promised U.S. support for a permanent group of 20 seats for the African Union and the appointment of a special representative to implement summit commitments. In addition to China, talks also spotlighted what the U.S. has sees as malevolent, Russian action on the continent. All right. The administration argued in its sub-Saharan strategy published earlier this year that Russia, the preeminent arms dealer in Africa, views the continent as a permissive environment for Kremlin-connected oligarchs and private military companies to focus on fomenting instability for their own strategic and financial benefit. During an appearance with Blinken on Wednesday, Ghanaian President Nana Addo expressed alarm about the presence of mercenaries from Russia's Wagner Group in Burkina Faso, directly north of Ghana. This follows a similar deployment of Wagner forces in Burkina Faso's immediate neighbor, Mali. Today, Russian mercenaries are on our northern border, said Akufo-Addo, adding that he believed Burkinabe authorities had given the Wagner Group control of a mine for payment, and that the country's prime minister had recently visited Moscow. So is this boiling down to people, governments trying to put themselves in position to gain financial gain, to take control of the continent and change up its dynamic, so on and so forth. And, again, taking the resources. And unfortunately, a lot of these African nations, leaders, are still drinking the Kool-Aid, and they're selling their people out down the river. And which will be very interesting if these leaders continue doing this, and the younger people start getting really fed up with the nonsense of their governments and their leaders. Not understanding I guess some do. Well, the leaders, I'm sure, understand the resources that they have. I guess in almost probably every African country, there's some type of resource that they can make their country more prominent and progressive. But they still got some of the coon class of Africa and the sellout class of Africa still selling the people out. So if any of you guys from Africa are listening, any citizens of any African country, you better keep a close eye on what your leaders are doing. And you see that they're really trying to keep Black Americans from having anything to say or any involvement anywhere, because we all know how the game goes. We already experienced it. Our ancestors experienced it. So that's going to naturally come down and trickle down to us. We know the game. We understand the games that's being played and the tricks that's being pulled. And we telling you, man, I'm not the only one that said it. There's others that's been telling you. They running game on y'all. And They're seeking to control all your assets and keeping you from doing business with anybody else. So you better take heed and watch the play that's being made. China, China wants some control. Russia wants some control. And of course, US. And what's interesting, they're going to make you think they like you, and they really don't. They can give a damn about you. They finessing you, and they're realizing what you like, and they're giving that to you, while on the back end they have plans. All right. Just like there's been video out regarding some of the African nations, African countries where the Chinese have come in, and now some of you Africans not even allowed. They build up maybe stores or running certain companies, and they're not even allowing you to shop in their stores. There have been videos of some black people getting whipped by Chinese people. Man, y'all better wake up, man. Seriously, you better wake up and watch the play. Anyhow, man, y'all let me know what y'all think. To all the Africans out there, sign off, comment. Let me know what you think on this one. I'm telling you, they running game on y'all. But you don't have to listen to the FBA. We know how the game go. And it's kind of one thing that's interesting before I get out of here is also, I haven't heard not one African country's leader say anything in regards to, or even confront Biden, or their news being any news on it, that since he wanted to do so much apologizing and for the men, women, and children that were stolen and forced on the U.S. shores, why is not any of those African nations leaders tell Biden, well, you owe those people money in your country who are the descendants of American slaves? Because whatever culture they had when they were stolen and brought there, their culture was all stripped. So we had to create a whole new culture because all of that was stripped. And then being there for over 300 to 400 years in the U.S., no type of anything or remembrance of any African anything are or was or are in our DNA. We created a whole new culture. We built this country in the U.S., and so we're like a whole separate class of people. And I wonder why none of the African nations leaders or peoples ever commented, whether face-to-face to Biden or his administration, or on any news channel, any African news channel in Africa. Why didn't nobody say anything about those Black Americans and who they owe money to? I'm gonna leave y'all with that one. Sound off, Africans, on that question. This is What's the 411 News, and I'm out of here. Peace.
Welcome everybody to What's the 411? This is the place that brings you news, observation, interpretation, and news commentary. Let's get it.